What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 377 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we will be breaking down some of the current events, the gossip, the news, the rumors, and everything else that's on the steamy side of things going down in the world of professional wrestling over the past few days. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me as always is Robert DeFelice.
Did you say break it down? Yeah.
Something, suck it. I don't know.
Yeah. That's right, man. D-Generation X in the Hall of Fame. I think, for me, this is making me feel old, quite frankly. But yeah, fuck yeah, wrestling.
Well, let's go with that one. I mean, it is the headline, and fuck it, it's the one I want to talk about kind of the most too, to a certain extent, because later on in April, I guess, technically, no, actually, April's the beginning of that, so the end of March, or middle of March, I don't fucking know, I'm tired. At some point, we're going to do our usual breakdown of wrestling with the past, and we will be going down all the Hall of Fame members and just kind of giving our retrospective viewpoint of these different men and women. But we will talk a little bit here and there throughout each of the coming weeks whenever they announce the different people that are going to be inducted. Just kind of general thoughts and all that. And yes, indeed, the first group of people that we've got for the class of 2019 WWE Hall of Fame is D-Generation X, which includes Shawn Michaels. He's now a two-time Hall of Famer, like Ric Flair. Or he will be, I should say. Triple H. D-Generation X also includes China. You've got New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. Now, they are ignoring a couple people that were in DX, but, kind of not in the same regard. You're not getting another Rick Rude. We're not getting Hornswoggle, thankfully. Not getting Tori. And I don't remember this being the case, but Stephanie was apparently in DX.
Stephanie was only in DX in the sense of, Tori was in DX from the McMahon Helmsley regime. But I think when people think about D-Generation X, these are the five that you think of. You think of Shawn and Hunter, and then the DX army of X-Pac, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and China. So I think this is more than appropriate, and I think, honestly, more of a push for, on the back end of this, let's get the Hart Foundation in. Why not have them go in the same year,
I think that this is actually an indicator that that's not happening.
I think it is as well. I'm just saying, I think if you want to create a legendary class, and you could literally, somebody said this, I think it was on one of the weekly podcasts or something, said this could be the class itself. You've got a tag team in the Outlaws, a woman in China, you've got X-Pac, and then you've got Triple H. This could be the class all by themselves. And, what a class they make.
Technically, China is doing double duty as also the deceased member of the class.
Yes.
So, you would really only need a celebrity, and at that point...
And at that point, you could just
Mike
be
Tyson.
like, hey, Tyson, you're a two-time Hall of Famer. I really... if they ever wanted to make the Hall of Fame shorter, and God knows it should be, that's a good way to do it. Just dedicate it all to DX.
Well, they need to add a couple more people in there. We're going to get the Warrior Award. We're going to get some kind of a celebrity.
Hornswoggle.
We're going to get the Legacy Award, most likely, which they breeze by that. They're just going to here's a bunch of old people, only Callum knows, and then the end of it kind of thing. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of, part of me really, really hates the idea that there's such a thing as two-time Hall of Famers, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, it's Shawn Michaels, so it's preferential treatment. I know that some people are going to bitch about this, but China doesn't need to go in by herself to have this be a good thing. Some people are complaining about this, and they're going this isn't good enough. It's fucking still the Hall of Fame. She's still going to go in as the same equal Hall of Famer as everybody else. You don't need to nitpick this,
I think if you're going to bitch about this, then, God, forgive me, I'm not comparing China to Jim the Anvil Neidhart, but then Jim the Anvil Neidhart deserves to go in by himself and not as just, hey, Hart Foundation, you know? And if
Right.
you're gonna bitch about this, then Arn Anderson should have gone in by himself, you know? Like,
Yeah, and at that point, you start bringing a whole bunch of different tag teams together, and you start going, well, why not do that for everybody? They didn't put Edge and Christian in together, but should we do Jeff Hardy by himself and not Matt Hardy and not do the Hardy Boys? It's like China was a member of DX, and this is a means to get China in there without focusing on the fact that they've got another deceased person. You've got X-Pac in there, which X-Pac arguably should have gone in on his own too. The New Age Outlaws arguably, I mean, I don't even think that's an argument, should have gone in as a tag team by themselves. And you're lumping them all together, and that means if it's good enough for the New Age Outlaws and it's good enough for X-Pac, it's good enough for China too, you know?
yeah, and like let's be real here. X-Pac deserves to go in by himself.
He does.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
of them should. That's the thing, including China. I agree with the statement that she could have gone in by herself, but she should have gone in back when she was still alive.
And I think people forget, because somebody actually asked me, what do you mean China's not in the Hall of Fame? They didn't put her in right after she died? And I said, no, right before she died, she had just accused Hunter of abusing her. Like, they had gone through a lot of stuff. And I mean, Triple H has never been shy about, yes, China will and should be in the Hall of Fame, but when the time is right, I always knew DX is going in as a group. That's how China gets in, and there's nothing wrong with that, because yes, she was the first woman IC champion, and yes, she was the first woman in the Rumble, and for a brief period of time, the number one contender for the world title. But at the end of the day, when you think of China, you think of Triple H, and you think of Degeneration X.
That's how she got her start. That's how she broke in. Well, she didn't technically get her start because she was with Triple H a little bit before that, around that. But yeah, it's like when push comes to shove, if it's good enough for the other members of DX, people shouldn't be really complaining that this isn't good enough for China, because she still is going in as the Hall of Famer. And that's the main goal. Like, if everybody was like, she needs to go in the Hall of Fame, which everybody fully agreed with, it was like, all right, well, she's going in now. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I like this, that they're going in as Degeneration X to a certain extent. I would be totally fine with them going in by themselves year by year. And, I'm not going to complain. I found a couple things interesting about this, though. Like, it is going to be kind of interesting that we're going to have somebody from All Elite going in.
Yep.
So that's kind of funny. Who inducts them? Because that could have been think about it. You could have had, if New Age Outlaws went in by themselves, you could have had X-Pac induct them. If X-Pac would have went in by himself, you could have had Scott Hall, you could have had Diesel, you could have had Triple H, a bunch of different people could have inducted him. Probably, I would assume, Scott Hall. If you go with China, you go with, like, Triple H, I would assume, is the one that kind of does that. But as a group, you can't have, obviously, Rick Rude. You can't have anybody, really, that stands out in my mind.
So, my instinct was The Rock, because I'm trying to think about rivals, right? So, like, Rock came to mind, Bret Hart came to mind. Like, these are people who feuded with DX, and would make sense to induct them. But I think you pull out the Austin card here, and they're good enough to be inducted by Vince McMahon.
They might. Vince McMahon's one of the only three options that I could think of. Vince being one of the ones where it's like a good fallback at the very least. If they really wanted to kind of stretch it a little bit, maybe Sergeant Slaughter, because they did do a little thing like that.
I
But
would like, you know who else? You know who's a really good name here? Michael Cole. They made a fucking dick
They did,
out of
true.
Michael Cole.
Yeah, they fucked with him a lot. So that could be a possibility. But the other one that I was thinking was that they just don't have an induction from anybody.
Oh, like they go the Oscars route.
They just have the video I'm assuming Jerry the King Lawler is probably going to host it again this year. And he just goes, let's take a look at D-Generation X or whatever like that. And then they just have over the loudspeaker, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome D-Generation X. And they skip a whole pre-induction kind of thing because that way they can get X-Pac to talk and, so on and so forth. Like everybody talks a little bit.
I'm gonna, if I had to put money on it, I'm gonna say Hall and Nash do it.
Yeah, it's a possibility too. I'll be curious to see what that happens with. And they might not announce it ahead of time. They might announce it pretty quickly, not pretty quickly, pretty soon, like right around WrestleMania time, or fuck it, who knows. But we will be, of course, talking about a couple other things when it comes to D-Generation X over the next month or so. This week, we might actually be doing something dedicated specifically to China with a one more match dedicated to her. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. And then, of course, at the Wrestling with the Past, we will be breaking down memories that we have and, maybe talking about who's your favorite member or whatever the case may be like that. So first group of people in the Hall of Fame is a strong group, and that's hopefully the precedent that they set going forward.
I only really have one strong request for this year, and it's Cyndi Lauper as celebrity.
She really
Other than that,
should be, yeah.
Whatever you do is fine.
Something that I'm interested in, maybe possibly write an article about, but fuck it, I'll spoil it here anyway. You mentioned Cyndi Lauper. I was mulling around the idea in my mind the other day that maybe if they want to bring back that WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal and they want to make it a something memorial, and they can't do the Fabulous Moolah thing, of course, because of the whole backlash from before, Wendy Richter. She was the first woman to compete at WrestleMania. Just do that, and then have Cyndi Lauper be in the Hall of Fame this year. Then you can kind of tie that in together,
I really like that, actually. I was scared that you were gonna call it the girls just want to have fun. That'll run.
Fuck it, do that too. I don't know.
But yeah, I like it.
So speaking of girls just want to have fun, let's talk about Total Divas for as much as we can stomach it. They've announced some changes to the cast. Ronda Rousey and Sonya Deville are going to be joining because they are losing a lot of people. They're losing Paige, Lana, and the Bella Twins are actually not going to be on Total Divas anymore. They're going to just focus on Total Bellas, which to me is kind of I don't know, inside baseball or something. It seems kind of stupid to me to be I don't want to do the Total Divas thing anymore. I just want to focus on my brand kind of a thing. I think Nikki's supposed to still be a producer or something for Total Divas, so whatever. I'm sure there's crossover.
To me, it sounds like when it's like The Rock not being in the video game when he first left, or having to admit to yourself that Cena is no longer a full-time guy. This is solid. Okay, the Bella Twins are not WWE superstars anymore.
You say that now, but wait until the Bella Twins become women's tag team champions.
Well, hold on. I'm just saying that they're not full-time. But yes, they're going to eventually hold those titles.
Oh no, there are people that come back to WWE when they feel like their star is falling a little bit.
For that matter, Total Bellas, fuck off.
All those shows.
Listen to me, dude. I want Nikki Bella to be successful. I want Nikki Bella to be a success. I want Brie Bella to be a success. I do not like the idea that we should be privy to your dating lives. I don't like the idea that you're supposedly putting your life on display, and then when something really big happens in your personal life, when people or feel entitled to know about it, you're like, hey, fuck you, it's my personal life. No, it's fuck you, you put it out there. I just don't like the concept of reality TV.
Well, it's the same thing as what people do on Facebook, where they bitch and complain about stuff, and then they say, "Why doesn't anybody stay out of their business? Out of my business?" Like, you're looking for drama, and you're looking for the attention that comes along with it. And as long as people know that that's the case, then there's always this kind of two-way mirror kind of a thing where it's like, I don't know, if you're smart enough for reality TV, you don't buy into any of the reality TV. And then you're watching it just for some kind of like weird kind of schadenfreude kind of thing. And at the same time, if you're dumb enough for that, you don't fucking care, and you're just sitting there going, "Oh my god, I can't believe Nikki got treated on by what?" It's like, oh, who fucking cares? You know, it's just these shows are dumb, and I'm sorry if you're a fan of them, but fucking, they need to stop.
On the back end of that, though, I love real Daniel Bryan, and will always watch whatever Daniel Bryan is doing on any of these shows. You
Meh,
know,
got no
like,
problem with them.
but real John Cena, however, is a different story, and actually, the way John Cena presented himself on these shows made him look like a real dick. So, yeah, there is that weird side of it too.
I just think that the idea that they're putting in Ronda Rousey and Sonya Deville to kind of cover the other people is kind of funny, because at the same time, Lana's supposed to have left because people didn't really like her, which I'm kind of curious why. But then again, I didn't watch the show, so I don't know if she's a real pain in the ass or something. Paige is like, I don't know. It's almost as if it seems like they want to go like on and off. Like, we've gotten enough Paige for a little bit. Let's not do this. Let's have a break or something. And Ronda Rousey doesn't strike me as the type of person that's really all that interesting, you know? Not to really crap on somebody I don't know, but doesn't she just like kind of hang out on her farm and just do that and nothing else?
I think here's why Ronda. The series hit ratings, uh, all-time ratings lows, and I think they're like, "Hey, panic mode," just like the Bella Twins are hitting panic mode and saying, series lows. Okay, we're out of here. The people are like, "Wait a minute, let's get Ronda in here to see if that ups our ratings." I think the ratings were fine before they put it on fucking Wednesday. Who the fuck watches anything on a Wednesday? And I'll be honest, from a WWE perspective, like, WWE's mass tweeting Total Divas and NXT shit at the same time, and that's very confusing.
Wouldn't shock me at all if WWE wouldn't be super butthurt about these shows ending to try to put them on the network, you know?
Oh, and I think that'd be better.
Oh, then again, holy foley.
No, but I think that would be better, because if you like it, hey, it's there for you. If you don't, that is your discretion. You don't have to watch this.
Well, I mean, you don't have to watch it anyway.
Yeah, true, but like, I don't know. I feel like you have to promote it more if it's on television.
Let's go from that to other kind of drama. Let's pivot to the Corey Graves situation. Corey Graves has been accused of cheating on his wife with Carmella, but a little bit of a twist in the story today from some other outlets. It seems as though there's a situation going on where maybe it wasn't necessarily the case. Let me backtrack a little bit and kind of fill people in if they weren't really aware of this. The other day, there was a thing going out with Corey Graves' wife where she was posting on Instagram saying that he was cheating on her with Carmella. And she put up a little video that Carmella was wishing their daughter, if I remember correctly, like a happy birthday, and that, that was one of their idols, and it really hurts, and their suicide attempts, and all this kind of horrible stuff. Well, when it comes to Elimination Chamber, they even did something like the announcers didn't get entrances because I guess that they were assuming that they would get some kind of a feedback with the Corey Graves thing and stuff like that. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in the story today, because more information came out that Corey Graves has not even been living with his ex-wife for 2 months, that they've been in divorce proceedings for 6 months, and that this wasn't something where he was cheating on her. It was just that he just decided to start dating Carmella. And I'm assuming his soon-to-be ex-wife, separated from her after a while. She just kind of like flipped out and took this as a means to, lash out on the internet and everything like that. Corey Graves had tweeted something, or he responded on Instagram or something like that. Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head because I'm tired, but he had said something about, you might want to take this down because WWE doesn't really want to do the whole lawsuit kind of thing. And I'm getting the feeling that this is more of a case of somebody who's jaded over a relationship breaking up and wanting to just take this as, I'm the victim here, crap out on Corey and crap out on Carmella and paint them to look bad, than to be a situation where she's actually looking for some kind of retribution and that she deserves it or anything like that. So in 24 hours, essentially, 48 really, this has gone from Corey Graves is a real piece of shit, cheating on his wife, and Carmella's pretty, trashy to be cheating on, or not cheating on, she's not cheating on anybody, but, being the muse for cheating, I guess you could say, to being, oh, okay, so they're a normal couple and the ex-wife's just kind of crazy. That's kind of funny to me. So now that I put all that out there, Rob, what do you think about this whole thing? Are you pro Carmella, pro Corey, pro ex-wife, pro just the drama?
I'm pro what the fuck is going on here. Like, I got wind of this when my friend just sent me like a random screenshot of the Instagram post, and I'm like, that's awkward and uncomfortable. Especially with like the claims that Corey Graves was suicidal, and I thought at first that he was saying to her that he was sorry he cheated on her and he maybe a little suicidal over getting caught.
Right.
But then I found out that he was like just that was him in the past, and she was just venting about, I was there for you and you cheated on me, or I found out that you've been sleeping with one of our daughter's idols. How could you? And like, this is fucking hard because I've been in a similar position to that woman, so I get her frustrations. But at the same time, I get that you're venting, but who are you really trying to reach here when you're venting online and just kind of slandering their names? Who are you really reaching? Like the awkward thing where she posts the video of Carmella going, "Hey, happy birthday! I hope your day is just as fabulous as you are." It like,
what's the real fucking offensive thing?
yeah, like she's just being a nice person. Like, yeah, I mean, granted, there was a point where it was like, "Oh, fucking Corey Graves is scummy," and then you find out, well, if they've been divorced, maybe he's not scummy, and
Right.
like, I don't know, like.
That's where it starts. I mean, again, of course, I don't know any of the people. I don't know the backstage stuff involved, so this is all speculation and bullshit and blah blah blah. But without that, that little precursor of warning to preface that, it comes off to me as the ex-wife is the type of person that, in a different scenario, would be like, those guys. It tends to be guys more than anything, but guys that'll hit on a girl, get rejected, and then say, "Oh well, I didn't care. I didn't want to fuck you
I
anyway.
didn't
You're
need
fat.
you, bitch. Yeah, fuck you, bitch.
You're ugly
You're ugly."
anyway. I wasn't hitting
Yeah.
on you." And it's like, okay, so if they would have said, "Let's fuck," you would have. And now that they didn't, they're ugly. No, and it seems like she wants to just drag them through the mud. Because you're right. It's like, well, hey, happy birthday. Oh, what a fucking bitch. Like, what I mean? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
don't steal my
I mean,
man that decided to leave me many, many months ago before he dated you, and that's not the case. Now, of
and
course,
again, don't know the full story, can't
right,
stress that enough. However, we've known this from the dawn of time. Pro wrestling relationships don't work out unless they're kind of all in the pirate ship together. That's why nowadays you see so many wrestling relationships. You see Carmella Corey Graves, supposedly. You see, Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano.
Ricochet and Casey, Stephanie and Trish. Stephanie and Trish, my God. Stephanie and Triple H. That's how tired I am. I'd be interested in seeing Stephanie and Trish a little bit.
Yeah. So
Daniel Bryan and Brie, like, Nikki and John for a little bit.
I'd look at why Nikki and John broke up. Oh shit. I didn't realize he was doing so much in Hollywood, and we're not really together all the time. This fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm. And when you're out of the whole, hanging out together on a more often basis, you lose that connection. And some of the couples are thankfully able to continue to keep that going. Like Big Show's been with his wife for a long ass time, and she wasn't traveling up and down the road with him all the time, but they worked on it. And Mark Henry's wife wasn't on the road with him, and that worked out, and some different things and all that.
Now, are you gonna leave sexual chocolate?
Well, I mean, what was the problem with Mae Young all this time? It worked, right? They got a hand.
I mean, yeah, he worked so well, he gave her a hand at 85 or whatever.
More on Mark Henry a little bit later. But, yeah, without knowing exactly what the full scenario is, and I'm sure also that Corey Graves' wife doesn't know the full scenario, because it's hard to be able to see anything from anybody's point of view 100%. Maybe Corey Graves cheated on her with Carmella, and then that led to them getting into this whole divorce thing. Or maybe he just kind of had a thing for Carmella way beforehand, and then, happened to be like, let's split up, and a couple months later, Carmella and he got together, and it just happened to be like, hey, awesome, the girl that I had a thing for was whatever. I'm surprised that this is Carmella and not Mandy Rose.
It would have been so much better if it was Mandy Rose.
Yep, because he never goes nuts about Carmella the way that he does about Mandy Rose, and I think that's kind of just one of those weird, fun little caveats that goes along with this.
Yeah, it's a shitty situation for all involved, and I know it's often mentioned, but really overlooked in the long run, especially their kids, dude. It's so shitty for their kids.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Corey in a relationship with Lita, not too long before he ended up getting married? He got married
I think you're thinking of CM Punk.
I thought that Corey was involved in something with Lita, and then it was out of nowhere he was just sort of like, I'm married or something. I don't know.
You're thinking of CM Punk, who was involved with Lita, and then it was like, hey, I'm with AJ. Hey, I married AJ. What the fuck?
Either way, the idea of this whole affair accusation and all that might not be going away anytime soon, but she deleted her Instagram account, which gives a little bit more credence to the idea that maybe she was kind of talking out of her ass, and maybe this is something that WWE was like, you need to knock this off or else we're going to get some kind of slander thing. That makes me feel a little bit more towards the Corey Graves side of the story than anything else, but if tomorrow there's a news story where it's like, here's video evidence of Corey Graves with Carmella in the middle of their relationship when they were just about to have the kid or something, then it'll be like, all right, scumbag,
Yeah, and let me be clear. I hate these types of stories. So, I'm commenting on it just, as it's my job and as it's just me talking with my buddy. But I hate these kinds of stories. I think everybody is inevitably a loser at the end of the day because nobody comes out of this story looking really good.
No.
I don't know.
Even if you're exonerated, you still have that little bit of the stench for the people that don't believe you. And if you don't need to be exonerated because you're guilty of it, then Corey Graves comes out looking bad, Carmella comes out looking bad, and the ex-wife's still hurt. So it's just kind of like lose kind of situation. But it might be interesting to see if they have any kind of an effect on some things going forward. Didn't happen at Elimination Chamber other than the lack of the entrances. So I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe there's some kind of a reference to it down the line. Maybe somebody just kind of just a little jab out there of being like,
I hope it's Tom Phillips. Only because Corey Graves
payback.
Yeah, I really hope it's Tom Phillips.
What was the thing? Do you remember offhand what he had said about the text messages?
It was a 205 Live uh, commentary thing, and it was something to the effect of, well, Phillips, I think this is when Alicia Fox was still like on 205 Live and with all the guys. And somebody said, well, Phillips, Noam Dar's got a lot longer than a 4-hour flight. And it was just like, haha, because you were on a 4-hour flight and you were texting some girl that you wanted her to sit on your face or something.
Yeah, well, any more news stories about that comes about, maybe we'll end up talking about it, but maybe not. Who knows? Let's go over to some of the non-WWE related material, kind of tangentially. The Undertaker has been taking a bunch of appearances elsewhere. He's getting, what was it, $25,000 an hour or something like that?
Woo, sure is.
Which is just like, Jesus Christ. Like, God, if I could do that. You know what I mean?
Hey, Tony, do you want to get him for like an interview for Smark Moment? Like,
I'd be like, hey, Mr. Calloway, I'm going to drain my bank account and still own you money. But he is going to be taking one for Starrcast. And this is very interesting because Starrcast is technically not 100% an all elite wrestling event, but it is something that is obviously an all elite wrestling event. It's just the type of thing that they're not branded as All Elite Wrestling presents Starrcast, and it's including these people that are from other different companies and all that. It's almost like there's a partnership run by the same people. Like, you can go to Olive Garden and enjoy it or hate it, and you can go to Red Lobster and enjoy it or hate it. Both of them are owned by Darden, so it's still going up the funnel. And the idea of Undertaker doing something for a non-WWE thing is just kind of odd, you know?
I didn't know that. That thing about Olive Garden and Red Lobster. But
And Longhorn.
really?
Yep, all three.
Huh.
There's another one too. It's something macaroni grill or something like that, but I don't have any of them in my area, so I don't know.
Huh. But Undertaker working all elite, not all elite, but Starrcast. I was genuinely floored by this news because kudos to fucking Conrad Thompson, who is probably crying broke, or maybe is he did a little bit of nachin, as they call it, and just said, "Fuck it, I'm going into debt for this. I'll live my life, and you know, I'll pay it off later." But that's a huge get. And
Maybe
like now
Undertaker's
you,
only going to have an hour-long session.
oh yeah, and now you're gonna have Undertaker in the same convention as Sting, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, Bruce
Jonathan
Pritchard.
Coachman.
Oh, and the guy, the coach. I mean, God. But how, like, okay, so like, let's play a game here. You have one Undertaker panel that you can have. What do you do with them?
Do you mean like, do you go autograph signing? Do you go Q&A? Like, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I'd probably go Q&A.
I'm going Monday Night War debate, Undertaker and Sting. Have fun with it.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think more than likely they'll probably do an autograph signing. But then again, I don't really know much about Starrcast plans, so
I think they're going to do an autograph signing, and I think they're doing a Q&A, maybe even that live Pritchard show. I think Undertaker gets involved in that.
yeah, that's a good point because Pritchard is pretty tight with Undertaker, and they were teasing on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre thing that they were trying to figure out a good way to get something special going. That would, yeah, you know what? That might actually be the case.
Yeah, and I think it would be really good.
I'd love to see just like that be the thing. Just Pritchard and Conrad and Taker all talk about like Taker's career and just go down the rabbit hole and just kind of go Yeah, let's talk about BSK. Let's talk about, whatever the case may be, whatever pops up. That'd be cool.
Now, Hall and Nash are there, or at least Hall is. Do you do like a BSK click panel? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you do
I'd
like
love
a?
that too.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You know,
If it is
there's
just
a
an autograph signing, that's kind of lame. Because to me,
no. If they're announcing the Undertaker, they're gonna do something with him for the paying audience at home as well. Because Starrcast will be on Fight, and
okay,
Starrcast will be
they're doing that
yeah,
again, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that you would think that they would do something like that. Either way, it's interesting that he's doing a non-WWE thing.
It opens the doors for a lot of shit that you don't really think about. You know.
Well, that's the other thing is a lot of people are going, "Oh, is he going to wrestle for All Elite?" No, he's not going to
No,
wrestle for
no,
All Elite.
moron.
Like, it's
Like,
not happening.
I hate when people jump to conclusions like that. But this does open the doors for cool Undertaker shoot interviews, and I'm sorry, but like, is there anyone that you'd want to listen to more other than maybe, you know, Stone Cold? And he's very open on his podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if I can really think of anybody that would be better off with something like that, just story-wise, because Undertaker's had a long, long career that spanned multiple
It's,
different eras.
and it spans every era that anybody cares about, and he can tell so many different stories.
Yeah, he can go back to Hogan. He can do the Attitude Era. He could do the New Generation. He could do the brand split, the WCW invasion. He could talk about the
He can talk
rise of the
about
people
right
like,
now. Like
yeah,
he can talk about NXT. How fucking cool would that be to get Undertaker's input on NXT? Like, there's so much you can do.
I couldn't see myself listening to Dead Man Talking though if he gets into topics that are just like bikes and shit, because I don't care about that. But if it was just pure wrestling, like I kind of want everything to go through the funnel of the Bruce Pritchard podcast because that's the best kind of thing. Just have somebody be like, all right, we're going to talk about this topic. We're going to talk about Godfather. Let's just go down the rabbit hole about Godfather, Or what are your thoughts on your ex-wife, Sarah? Like just pitch questions.
Yeah, like what were your thoughts on? Hey, DDP? He's gonna stalk your wife.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
this is what we're doing, and Vince McMahon is gonna be doing the creepy voiceovers for these videos.
It's like, so you still pissed at Maven?
Yeah,
Are you
like
really dead?
like that's a good question. Like if I had one question to ask the Undertaker, I'd be like, you were put in the ring with a lot of shit. Who would you just go back in time and go, no, absolutely fucking not? Like,
I would be tempted as hell to be that asshole that would go, like, the one question I would have to be like, so are you the real Undertaker or is Leslie Nielsen wrong? Just to be like, nah, I'm the real Undertaker. Ah, sweet. Like,
worth it.
yep. Why not?
Worth the $25,000. I just
Either that or be like, so your name was Kane the Undertaker, and then Kane became your brother. What's your real first name? Other than Mark? Unless you're
uh,
Mark the Undertaker, then that's really kind of strange.
weird.
They didn't give him a name, actually. I don't think about that. They never gave him, like, a canon name. So that is very strange. Because I don't think that that's even been the case when that, like, fake book came out. Like, the story of The Undertaker and all that. I don't even remember them having names. Other
Well,
than, like, Mark Calloway and all that or something.
I know that they started referring to him as Mark when he was the badass.
Mm-hmm.
They did some stuff where he was just Mark, and I never liked that. Let me just be honest. I hate humanizing the Undertaker. Like, that's just, I'm one of those guys who thinks he's perfectly fine as a mythical dead man creature.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of go be like 10 years or whatever of being this wizard kind of character, then be like, by the way, I'm actually just some dude from Texas. And it's like, okay,
Yep.
well then, how did you ascend to the heavens and fucking, like, you know what I mean? It's sort of very strange. Wrestling's weird. WWE has acquired the rights back again from MLW to War Games. That's interesting. They're in a scenario right now where they don't have to do the War Games thing being one word. And I'm assuming that means that there's no longer going to be a War Games for MLW.
That does suck for MLW, though.
Yeah, but whatever. WWE needed to get the name back. Maybe that's going to actually put it more in the likelihood that it's on the main roster, or I don't know. Maybe at the very least they just stop using that little lack of a space, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I didn't know that MLW owned War Games. Good for MLW in a way for having the rights to that for a minute.
Yeah, they snatched it up, and that's why WWE didn't do War Games for a bunch of years. That and the little space kind of thing. Because it's like, well, we're not doing War Games, we're doing War Games.
War Games. Yeah, this is cool. War Games is really one of those matches I want to see transition into the main roster.
Once in a while, maybe. I don't want them to start going like, now every year we're going to have War Games pay-per-view.
Yeah, even though I'm worried that we're getting there with NXT.
Yeah, they need to stop doing this kind of stuff, but we've talked about that moment.
Well, we've talked about that ad nauseum, and we will continue to because it's stupid. Like,
same as I'm going to die on that hill that TLC is not an actual match. I got one more story here. The World's Strongest Man, the Mark Henry story special that was on the network after Elimination Chamber, and it's obviously on the WWE network now if you want to check it out, which I fully recommend. I think that you should definitely see this one. If you're a fan of Mark Henry in particular, if you're not, maybe you could skip it because it is just the story of Mark Henry. So, I'm not going to pay attention to a documentary about Marilyn Monroe, and I don't give a shit about her. So, whatever the case may be. Henry is a guy that I think is overlooked a lot, and I've always been a fan of Mark Henry to a certain extent. Obviously, he's never been my top favorite of all time, and he's not somebody who I would be like, oh, Mark Henry could have a great match with a broomstick or something, but I did always like Mark Henry, and I was interested in the story despite not having any interest in actual strongman competitions and weightlifting and all that. I just kind of liked hearing the story of this nice guy,
You know what I like? When you have the network and you own everything, use some of that behind the scenes footage. And they did that here. Where you can see things of like Mark Henry just, in his early tryouts and like laughing with guys. I enjoy stuff like that because like that to me is what I'm paying for.
Right. Same here. You could see him training a little bit with Albert and Draws and Edge, if I remember correctly, being in that group too.
And Bradshaw, I saw something.
Yeah, some backstage stuff with Bradshaw. There was some backstage stuff with the Hall of Fame and Big Show and all that. And yeah, that's the fun stuff, because if it was just going to be reusing old footage from things like the Mae Young hand and all that kind of stuff, I've seen that a bunch of times, but
and
seeing
still
Mark
no
Henry do
real
other stuff is
explanation
different.
on the hand.
No, they still didn't dive into that. Could
The
say they
warped
got something up
fucking
their
mind of
sleeve,
Vince
but
McMahon. The warped mind of Vince McMahon is what it comes down to.
That's pretty much it, yeah. Which I guess that doesn't need any more of an explanation than that. Just kind of like, yeah, it's Vince, whatever.
Fucking weird.
But I liked this. I thought that this was a good documentary. I'm surprised that it was something separate and not something like
A chronicle.
I guess they couldn't really call it Chronicle because it wasn't over like a shorter time frame or so, but there's still no real distinction between like WWE 24, WWE Chronicle, WWE whatever. I don't know. Maybe they just figured, fuck it, interview kind of thing, and that's about it. But
you know why? Because they can't put out DVDs of this shit anymore.
who's gonna buy them?
It's like you could separate it with that Beyond the Ring feature by putting it on DVD, but since you're not doing that, it just kind of ends up as a network special.
Yeah. Tell you what, though,
But
this
either
was a
way-
good change of pace from a Christian show.
And it was a good special. I definitely want to see more like that. Again, that's why I subscribe. I'm into documentary type stories of certain guys. Give me the story of X-Pac. You know, like here's a guy who popularized the cruiserweight style. Give me that story.
Yeah, I'd watch the shit out of that.
Let's do something on China before the Hall of Fame.
Do you know, never mind. I'm not going to get into that. We're going to save that for a little bit later. Because I did mention before that we might get into the whole China situation with our main event this week. Maybe something's going to change on that. Maybe not. I don't know. SmackDown, of course, hasn't happened yet because we just watched Raw and all the other kind of stuff that goes along with that. But we might dive more into China. And if that's the case, then do the old plug stuff, which we'll get into in a minute. But thumbs up from both of us on this Mark Henry story. Definitely check that out.
Yeah.
All I have is all those hot tags. Is there anything else you can think of?
Nope, but I'll do a quick search just to make sure we're not missing anything.
Assuming not.
Yeah, Abyss started working for WWE tonight with Raw, which is really cool.
Maybe not the best Raw to be able to make your debut on because I felt that was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, nothing really big.
All right, so you guys know the score when it comes to that. In 20 minutes after I start editing this, it'll be
Somebody will. That's the way it's been the last couple of weeks, guys. We get out of the hot tags, and then the very next thing in the morning, it's like, here's this major fucking news story.
Yeah, turns out that Becky Lynch is actually not Becky Lynch. She was a horse the whole time, and horse in the main event of WrestleMania. That's the first time ever, if that's the case.
First time ever.
But if that does happen, maybe I'll put up a small package or something like that. Same old, same old. So as far as same old goes, same old when it comes to the podcast. Why am I saying podcast? When it comes to the plugs, I'm tired. So hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, ring the bell for the notifications to be aware of the next thing that's coming your way, which, as I mentioned before, it might be One More Match China, it might be Superstar Scores China, it might be Superstar Scores New Age Outlaws, might be Going Over. Maybe we're going to bring that back. Maybe we'll do Top Rope List. I'm assuming it's probably one more match, but, if you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments below, and we'll try to factor that in, too. We've got the YouTube channels, stuff I already took care of, but I didn't talk about the Facebook and the Twitter, which are both at SmarkOutMoments, so follow those as well. Make sure you go to smarkoutmoment.com to find out anything else that's happening along that front. Check out the other stuff I've got cooking on eWrestling News and Bleacher Report, but I've also got fanboysanonymous.com, which is where I talk about all the stuff when it comes to superheroes and movies and TV shows and all that. The Oscars are coming up on Sunday. Still haven't watched a bunch of those movies, and I kind of don't want to, but maybe I'll be doing something about that. Maybe Rob will be joining me, some kind of review of the Oscars or something along those lines. Still got to check out the second Lego movie. I might watch Alita if I have any chance to see that, but it kind of doesn't look all that great to me, so maybe I won't.
Fighting with my family.
Yeah, I actually don't know if that's playing in my theater right around me, so that is something I might have to hold off on a little bit more than what I thought. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to try to look into that and hunt it down a little bit. But that might be popping up too, and if that's the case, I'll post on the Smark Out Moment side of things so everybody knows. And blah 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 blah. I think that's about it for me. Anything else you want to toss out there?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Check out the weeklies. Check out Callum's wonderful article about why Charlotte should be in the main event of WrestleMania this year, and stay tuned for 2001 Wrestling Odyssey February, coming to you very soon.
Alrighty, everybody, that's going to do us in for 377 or whatever number we're on. Doesn't matter right now. We will talk to you next time, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.